Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is the Piracy Show. Now on today's show, if I can hopefully get through it, we're going to be talking about the anniversary sale coming up, and we're going to be discussing some of the ships that I like best. But before we get into that, there was an interesting little ship update that dropped, and it's in regards to the price for the Prowler. So I want to kind of give some thoughts on that, and then we're going to get into the anniversary sale and be talking a lot about the ships that I like best going into it. We're going to stay on the positive side of things today, give praise where praise is due, and hopefully have a fun show. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, for those of you that don't know, the price that has been announced for the Prowler is $425, and it will have LTI, of course. I mean, it was a given, so there's no point in really saying that, but, you know, some people will be like, will it have LTI? So, yes, it will. Now, $425 for a stealth boarding ship. This is going to be a very interesting ship. When I read that price, I just kind of like cocked an eyebrow and went, really? $425 for a stealth boarding ship. This better be the most amazing boarding ship I have ever seen. I mean, there's got to be a list of features on this that are incomprehensible, but I guess we'll see. We'll see very, very soon. What is it? Friday, I believe, is when we'll be seeing this, the 18th. So yeah, around about that. So I'm very interested to see where this goes. I'm a little bit leery of it because of that price. But you know what? We're going to stay on the positive side of things today, and I'm just going to say I'm watching it. I'm cautious about this one. But enough about that. Let's get on to what I think are some of the best ships in the Star Citizen universe. Now, when I'm talking about these ships and the anniversary sale, I'm talking about ships that have a limited availability, ships that you can generally only get a few times per year, and what I think the best ones out of those are. Though there are some other standouts out there that are available all the time. One of them that a lot of people might not know that is actually one of the ships I really like is the Cutlass Red. Now, not for me personally, but I think that that's a ship with a lot of potential. I think that that's a great ship. And if it was a limited availability ship, it would be on this list, but it isn't, so it isn't. So, that being said, limited availability ships, which do I think are the best ships out there that you can get, hopefully, in the anniversary sale? All right, now one of the best ships, and it's a ship that I don't own, but it's a ship that I've nearly purchased a couple of times, but I've kind of laid out my fleet a different way, but it is a ship that I would, I still every once in a while I consider it, is the Starfarer and the Starfarer G, or the Gemini. You know, if an army marches on its stomach, then a fleet flies on its fuel. The one thing that everyone's going to need in this universe is fuel. And, just to quote Dune, he who controls the spice controls the universe. Whoever controls the fuel, whoever can sell the fuel is quintessential to any fleet being able to operate, far from home or just to be able to make money. Everyone's going to need fuel. So the fact that this ship doesn't just haul fuel, it actually mines, it sources that fuel, refines it, and then sells it on. There's a lot of potential for that ship. And I think, with different types of equipment, maybe you can, achieve more efficiency in your refining operation and you can achieve more profit. There's a lot of potential for a lot of depth just in fueling alone. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things. It may not be my particular cup of tea, but I have to recognize that is a very strong foundation to start on. And then not only that, you can swap the cargo modules around and then just haul cargo with it. So if fuel isn't your thing, or if the situation kind of calls for, hauling cargo instead, you can just switch the ship up and haul cargo. Or, I don't know if it's ever been confirmed, but if you keep, I guess, maybe just the refining and the fuel sourcing end of it, and maybe a couple of fuel tanks and then do the rest cargo, I mean, you could probably mitigate your expenses doing cargo runs if you were to stop every once in a while and just refuel yourself instead of having to go out and spend money on fuel. I'm not sure that that's ever confirmed, but I think to me, that would be a very strong selling point for the ship, is a ship that would be, in a sense, hopefully fuel independent. So there's a lot of really great things, I think, in the Starfarer concept and the idea behind the Starfarer. And so that is one of the big standout ships for me. Even though it's a ship that I don't own, it's a ship that I very much like. And, when people say, oh, I own a Starfarer, I'm like, well, you know what? It's not my cup of tea, but I still think that it's a great ship. And one of the best things about it, I mean, if you pick it up during the sale, there was a sale, last week of the Starfarer? A little bit of controversy around that one, but honestly, it's a ship that you can fly now. It's a ship that you can get in and fly in the game right now. Of course, fuel mechanics not in yet, but it's a ship that you can get in, you can explore, and it's one of those rare ships that you can actually experience right now. Even though it's not in its finished state, it's in a pretty good state, and it's a pretty cool ship. So the Starfarer, definitely one of the ships that I like the best in the Star Citizen ship lineup. And so definitely I think a ship that is well worth it for a player to invest in. Now, next up is a ship that I rarely ever mention, the Herald. Now, the Herald is, I think, for under $100, in my opinion, it's one of the best ships that you can buy. It is fast. It is going to be a ship that is capable of hauling information. Instead of cargo, it hauls information. But it also has the capability of jamming transmissions, hacking, electronic warfare. To what extent, we have not yet seen, but there's a lot of promise there. But you can also use this ship as a personal transport. It's got a bed in it. It's got a gun rack. So you can use this as a way to get around the universe. But along the way, you can also pick up information and deliver it along your route potentially. So once again, a way to mitigate the costs of travel through space. And I think that it would represent a very interesting way to live in the Star Citizen universe. On it, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If I could only buy one ship in the Star Citizen universe, and it had to be under $100, hands down, it's the Herald. Don't even need to think about it. Herald. And so, obviously, anniversary sale, and the Herald, becoming flight ready in the next patch, whenever that finally happens. Yeah. Absolutely, the Herald is a fantastic ship. Would I buy it again? Yeah. Even going all the way back into the past. Would I buy the original concept ship again, knowing I would have this long ass wait for the Herald? Still, yes. I'm still 100% on board with the Herald. So Herald is definitely a ship to look at, and if you've been thinking about it, hell, I own it. So, I'm not just, this isn't like the Starfarer where I don't own the ship. This is a ship that I do own. Very excited about it. I like it. So, I mean, it's up to you how you want to spend your money, but that is definitely a ship that I would keep my eye on. Next up, Aegis Terrapin. Now, the Aegis Terrapin is something that's only recently come around. And originally, I thought that this was going to end up being the small salvage ship, but it ended up being something completely unexpected. In that, here's a ship that has a certain ability to kind of hide itself. It's built for scanning. It's built to be sort of like the eyes of the fleet. And to me, that was very interesting. That was something that I did not expect from that ship, and it was a ship that very nearly I purchased. Still possible that it could happen. I'm not saying it will, but it is a distinct possibility. Terrapin, I mean, information is power, and the Terrapin is something that is sent out to collect information through scanning and exploration. So if you're exploring for minerals to make your mining ops more efficient, you know where the minerals are ahead of time, so you can go and you can get the good ones. Awesome. For salvage, finding the wrecks, finding whatever you know, abandoned cargo or an abandoned mining base or whatever. For salvaging, a lot of potential there. Just for exploration, of course, tons of potential there. And that added dimension of, let's say, in a combat situation, of being able to sit there quietly and act as the eyes of the fleet, scanning and looking out for enemies, you know, always kind of being able to kind of relay important information to your fleet commanders, you know, to look around the corner before they can, to see what's coming, is obviously something that is really good. And here's a ship that's built to do that, and it's also built to be resilient, to go long range. Excellent. It's, I mean, an excellent idea. It is not the ship that I expected it was going to be, but I was very pleasantly surprised when I read about it, and it was a ship that I very nearly got, but I was kind of had my eyes on another ship for the future, and so, you know, might still happen, but probably not, just because I feel that I've more or less lined things up the way I want them, and I'm more or less stuck right where I want to be. But the Aegis Terrapin is still a ship that I think is really strong and a fantastic ship, and I very much doubt that anybody who owns one is going to be disappointed with the final result with that ship. Next up, the Banu Merchantman. Now, Banu Merchantman, of course, is a ship that I've talked about a lot before. And one of the things I like best about this vessel, I mean, obviously, it's iconic looking. And by the way, this art, I did not do this. This is somebody who posted this in the community hub who did this. The link is in the description below. Go check that out. Upvote that shit, because it's when I saw that, I just started laughing. That was absolutely awesome. You know, the X-Files poster. It's just absolutely great. But you know, the Merchantman, I think I like it for a different reason. And that's because here's a ship that is, you know, it's not only just a cargo ship, but it's a cargo ship that actually acts as a mobile shop. And so, in a way, you can see yourself kind of going into maybe some of the more populated areas of the universe, and you know, buying some of the goods that might be more difficult to get out on the fringe, and then flying them out to the fringe and kind of landing and just kind of opening up a shop. Remember, because you can just set up a shop with this ship and just sell to the locals there. And when I see it, to me, it kind of reminds me of in A New Hope, when the Jawas show up in the big sand crawler and they start selling off droids to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru and that sniveling little blondie there, Luke Skywalker. It reminds me of that. It made me think of that. And so, even though when I look at the ship, obviously iconic looking, it's not something that I think I would want overall, like something that I could see myself being kind of stuck into. But I could definitely see the appeal beyond just like RP value. I think that, you know, flying around in something like that just looks so amazing, and you know, it's just built around this purpose of, you know, buying and selling and being a trader. I think that would be a very interesting way to live in the Star Citizen universe, and a very interesting way to make money. And you know, obviously there would be some strong RP value with that. I think that's just an excellent ship, and I think one of the most striking things about the Banu Merchantman is the fact that it has taken so long to get something so awesome into the game, and hopefully someday real soon. But the fact that we're still waiting on the Banu Merchantman is a little bit of a surprise to me. Next up is a ship that I love for a couple of reasons, and I also hate because I don't like the way it looks. I've never been a fan of its hull shape, but you have to acknowledge greatness where it exists, and that is the Freelancer Miss, the militarized version of the Freelancer. Now, I'm sure there are members of my org who know that I love to make fun of the Freelancer because it just it looks lumpy. It looks like something that was shaped out of clay quickly. I've never liked the shape of the Freelancer, but when you look at the spec sheet of that ship and you look at the armaments and the fact that it can carry cargo and the fact that that ship comes in at $165 and offers so many options, I've said it before and I'll say it again. In a universe where the Freelancer Miss exists at $165 or whatever it's going to cost in the PU in credits, the Vanguard Warden cannot exist. Those two cannot exist in the same reality, because where the Freelancer Miss exists, when that ship comes out, when that ship is in the PU, if they keep the stats the way they are, there's probably there's a few hardcore Vanguard aficionados out there still, a few hardcore believers in the Vanguard Warden, who get mad when I talk about the Vanguard and when I talk about the obvious deficiencies there. When the Freelancer Miss exists, when the Freelancer Miss arrives, hell, even when the Redeemer arrives, those people are going to wish there was a lot more people like me talking about the Vanguard and saying this needs to be fixed, because just, you know what? Just stop. Take a second. You might be a little mad. Go look at the stats sheets for all three ships, the Warden, the Redeemer, and the Freelancer Miss. Put those all next to each other and write the price of each ship underneath it, and then list the weapons, the shields, the engines, everything. Go look. Go ahead. Pause the video, hit the space bar, come back when you're ready. Okay, you're back now? Cool. Vanguard Warden, you see what I'm saying? Cool. Now, the Freelancer Miss, when you add in the fact that it can carry cargo, the potential to haul around possibly a Dragonfly in the back of that thing. Maybe not flight ready, but to be able to go down to a planet and just pop that thing out and fly, drive around in it. It represents a lot of opportunities and a lot of interesting combat potential. How good it will be remains to be seen, but you have to look at it and say there's a lot of base potential in those stats and in that ship, the way it's built and the way it's been promoted. I think it's a ship that doesn't quite get the recognition it deserves in the community. There's been a lot of newer, flashier, fresher ships that have come out since, but I think the Freelancer Miss is going to be a very solid ship in the PU when it does finally come out, and it is one of the reasons that I still have a Freelancer Miss upgrade token in my hangar. And let's just say if I ever get tired of the Super Hornet, I know exactly what ship it's going to turn into. No, I don't even need to think about it. It'll be like, yep, well, Super Hornet, not done with that, so I know what it's going to turn into. Even though I love the Super Hornet, I have an exit strategy if something goes wrong with that ship. Now, next up are three ships that I think I would place together in a group, because when you're talking about things from an organization level, I think they represent very solid investment because they are the end game money makers, and that is the Reclaimer, the Orion, and the Crucible. Now the Reclaimer, the Orion, and the Crucible are all endgame moneymakers. They're all industrial ships. And they are, as of right now, the last word in making money for large ships in the Star Citizen universe, apart from hauling cargo. And where a fleet goes, there are sure to be wrecks left in its wake. The Reclaimer is there to take advantage. In space, obviously, you're seeing it on screen. There's asteroids. Asteroids contain resources, hopefully. The Orion is designed around harvesting those resources. In space, ships get damaged. The Crucible is there to repair them. These are three solid ships that are going to have a good place in the Star Citizen universe. And in terms of, industrial applications, I think these ships are going to represent very good money makers, especially if you have the crew to operate them efficiently at the fullest of their potential. I think that all three of these are solid investments, and I think more so for an organization that is going to crew them fully and take them or use them to the fullest potential that they have. So these are three ships. I'm a big fan of all three. I personally own the Reclaimer. I love it. I think it's going to be a great ship. I love the way it looks. I like the idea behind it. I can't wait to see what I can do with it. And so I'm very excited for all three. I think they are awesome, awesome ships. I can't really look at any one of them and say that, there's this that I disagree with or there's that I don't like. These are three ships that I love. I think they are fantastic. Now, there's one more ship. I've taken it off the list, put it back on, taken it off, put it back on a bunch of times. And I think it deserves to be included on this list, even though I think that it's going to prove to be a bit of a nightmare in the game. And that ship is the Polaris. Now, there's a lot of Super Polaris enthusiasts out there. And I get it. I totally get it. I mean, when you look at the ship, it's built to be that fast attack boat, to get in quick, hit them hard with those torpedoes, and then GTFO. Beautiful. And, like a lot of ships that I like, it is very much built towards that. It's built towards that tactic. It's application specific. I like that. Those are things that I like in ships. I like defined things. Something that you go, okay, this is what it's built for, and this is what it has to excel at. And for the price tag attached to this ship, it has to be kick-ass. It has to be, of course. For anybody out there who owns a Polaris, if CIG said, we're going to tone this thing down because it's a little bit OP, are you, maybe a small tweak you'll take, but a big tweak, I don't think anyone's going to suffer through that. You saw the hell that got raised over the Cutlass, and that was a $100 ship. This thing is $750. Good luck trying to nerf this thing. And that's the problem. Is it's such a high profile ship and it costs so much that whether in game or out of game, it can't be fail, right? It has to be kick ass. So much the better, right? That means it's got to be good. It has to be good. So it's got to be a safe investment. The problem is with this ship is because it's so laser focused on what it does. It's meant to be that fast attack boat. Get in, hit them hard, get out. It can't be anything else. There's no leeway with this ship. And so, with so many adopters out there and so many enthusiasts, it's got to kick ass at that role. Could you imagine people are out there pledging $750 ish, getting this ship, and then it sucks? Would anyone accept that and be like, oh, well, better luck next time? No. It has to kick ass. It's practically legally obligated to kick ass. And that's the problem, because it's not going to be a problem for the Polaris owners. It's going to be for the people on the receiving end of the Polaris. Because this isn't going to be a ship that lingers around after, it attacks somebody. This isn't going to be a ship that goes, okay, well, we just, blew this guy up, or we just stole this guy's cargo. Now let's stand around and wait for the reinforcements to show up. That's not going to happen. They're going to hit you hard, and they're going to get the hell out. And they're going to go hit somebody else. And by the time your reinforcements show up, they'll probably be 2 systems away doing it to somebody else. And so it's not going to be a problem for the Polaris owners. I think it's going to be a problem for the Starfarer owners, for the Reclaimer owners, for the people out in the middle ground ships that are going to get hit with this thing, and there's really not going to be much of a counter for this ship, because it's not like the other capitals are going to be able to chase it down. This thing is going to, people are going to use this when it's least expected, and they're going to charge in with it, hit them hard, and get out. And there's going to be little room to balance this, because there are no other applications for this ship. It's not like you can say, well, let's take out the torpedoes and turn it into an E-war boat. No, let's take out the guns and turn it into command and control. Those options just don't exist. They're not there. This is a torpedo boat, plain and simple. There's nothing else you can do with the ship, so there's no way to really move with the ship other than to make it, a torpedo boat. And if it's a suck-ass torpedo boat for the price tag attached to it, how is that going to play out in the public eye? And how's that going to play out with the backers who backed for that ship? Right? The Cutlass, is a perfect example, and that was just a cheap ship. How many of these things have gone out there? Over 3,000? Right? That's not a lot of people. They'll be okay with it if you nerf it. And so I think it's going to be a safe investment, but I'd be very leery of how this thing is going to play out for the game at large. And I think that it's probably going to be a fun ship for the people who own it, but for CIG, I think this thing is going to turn into a nightmare for balancing. And had they had a ship that was a little bit more versatile, I think they'd be a little bit better off. Anyways, that's my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.